What do you do when you can't remember what you did? What if she loved him and drove 100 miles per hour in a wall anyway? And here's the one American keeps searching for at 3 a.m. is Mackenzie Shirilla, a cold-blooded killer, or a broken teenager who destroyed everything in 1 second. And you know what? And here the silence will rip. No pause between the questions. What exactly happened on July 31, 2022 in Strongsville, Ohio? And why did a 17 years old drive at 100 mph into a brick building? Was Dominic Russo her soulmate and or her captor? And what did the crash investigation find out that changed everything? Why did the judge call Mackenzie Shirilla hell on wheels? What is the evidence that prosecution used a prove intent? Why does her family still insist she is innocent? What does the Netflix documentary that Crash actually shows us? And what is the dark psychological truth Netflix won't name directly? And here's the one question every American watching this needs to answer: where is the line between tragedy and a murder? I'm going to answer all of that today. And by the end of this video, you will have to decide for yourself what Mackenzie Shirilla is. And I'm your host. This channel covers the American stories that shake you and make you think for days afterwards. Today's case has been everywhere. In 2026, Netflix drops The Crash on May 15th, and right now millions of Americans are searching: is Mackenzie Shirilla guilt or innocent? And do you decide? And at the end of the video, here's what we know. On July 31st, 2022, a Toyota Camry hit a brick building at 100 miles per hour. A Strongsville, Ohio, a normal American suburb. Dominic Russo, 20 years old, and Davion Flanagan, 19 years old, dead, and Mackenzie Shirilla, 17 years old, sole survivor. The central truth of this entire story is this: the court said she chose this. Her parents say she didn't. And America right now is sleep right now in the middle. And you understand what were the facts of the crash, just the raw facts. And July 31st, 2022, 6:15 in the morning, Strongsville, Ohio, Mackenzie Shirilla was driving three people in her Toyota Camry. Her boyfriend Dominic Russo, who she called her soulmate, and Dom's best friend Davion Flanagan. The car hit a brick building 100 miles per hour. All three occupants unconscious, not breathing, trapped. Russo and Flanagan were pronounced dead at the scene. And Mackenzie Shirilla survived, the only one. And in America, when only one person survives, people start asking why. What did the crash investigation actually find? Here's where a tragic accident starts looking like something else. Detectives combed through the wreckage and found something disturbing. The car's data recorder showed deliberately acceleration, no barking, no skid marks on the road, no attempt to slow down. The Cuyahoga County prosecutor said it plainly. And you know what? This was not a reckless driving. This was a murder. The word murder in the case involving a 17 years old American girl, the whole county went quiet. And what was the relationship between Mackenzie and Dominic really like? Mackenzie Shirilla would call Dominic Russo her soulmate on record, but the prosecutor painted a very different picture on their relationship: violent, toxic, controlling in both directions. They claimed Mackenzie wanted out but couldn't get out. That the crash was her way of ending something she felt trapped inside. Her lawyer said that's bullshit, pure speculation. The jury, well, there was no jury. It was a bench trial on one judge, Judge Nancy Margaret Russo, and she saw intent. And what exactly did the judge say at the verdict? And Judge Nancy Russo, no relation to the victims, said it was an ice in her voice. She alone decided what was to be. Mackenzie decided death was the ultimate goal that day. She alone made the decision for Dominic and Davion. And 12 felony charges, guilt on all accounts, including for counts of murder, sentenced to life and a prison, a possibility of parole in 15 years. She was 17 years old. she's at the time of the crashes. Now she is in the Ohio Reformatory for Women, and her parents are still screaming that American justice got it wrong. And what does Mackenzie family say happened? Steve Shirilla, her father, said this publicly in May 2025. Show me one piece of evidence, one that says she did this on purpose. Show it to me. Her family says she had no motive, no plans, no warning signs. She loved Dom. She was a teenager at a graduation party. They say she fell asleep at the wheel or blacked out or panicked. They have filed appeals. Everyone denied. And in March 2025, the 8th District Court upheld the conviction. The system had spoken, but the Shirilla family has not gone quiet. And that Americans is exactly why this case still burns. And is Mackenzie Shirilla a psychopath or a traumatized teenager? This is the question Netflix is going to make you sit with. And let's talk about what the clinical evidence actually says. Adolescent impulsivity. That's the first framework here. The plain American English: teenage brains are literally not fully formed. The prefrontal cortex, the part that controls consequences, doesn't finish developing until you find 20s. And that's not an excuse, that's a neuroscience. That's American courtroom reality. The prosecution said she planned it. The defense said she couldn't have because planned a murder requires a development a brain. At 17, Mackenzie Shirilla existed somewhere in between. What is the inmate partner entrapment? And did it apply here? In inmate partner entrapment, this is a real clinical concept. In plain English, when you feel emotionally imprisoned by someone you love. The prosecution argued Mackenzie felt trapped in the relationship with Dom, that she couldn't live through normal means, so she found an exit, the most permanent exit imaginable. No, that is the devastating theory, and here's the problem with it. And it was explains nothing about why she drove at 100 miles per hour with her best friend and her boyfriend both in the car. If you are ending a relationship, why take Davon's Davion Flanagan with you? The question has never been answered, not even by the prosecution. The Netflix isn't going to answer it either. What does the lack of memory actually tells us psychologically? Mackenzie Shirilla said at sentencing that she cannot remember. I wish I could remember what happened. I am just so sorry. Dissociative amnesia. That's the clinical term for this. In a plain American English, the brain blocks traumatic memory to survive. It happens in car accidents, it happens in violent episodes, it happens when a person commits something their mind cannot accept. Is Mackenzie Shirilla telling the truth when she says she doesn't remember? The forensic psychiatrist would say possibly, genuinely possible. And that uncertainty, Americans, is exactly what's keep this cave alive. And why does America keep splitting on cases like this one? And because Americans want simple answers to complicated human beings: monster or victim, killer or kid, hell on wheels or heartbroken girl. But every American who has lived through a toxic relationship knows love and violence can exist in the same heartbeat. That's not a comfortable truth, that's the only truth in this case. And here it is the truth. Netflix is going to show you evidence and you are going to pick a side. The question is whether you side you pick is based on truth or based on who the story lets you feel better about yourself for believing. And what is the Netflix that crash is actually going to show? The documentary drops May 15th from the producers of Don't Fuck with Cats, directed by the Garrett Johnson. Feature length 92 minutes. It will walk through the relationship the night of the crash and the investigation, the trial, the verdict. And it will examine court the shifting narratives of the fateful night. The face shifting narratives is doing a lot of heavy lifting, because the Netflix is really asking is, did the story change over time? And if it did, who changed it and why? What is the dark truth that Crash documentary might not name? And here is what I believe, and this is where American true crime always fails us. The documentary will make you pick a side: monastery or tragic teenager. It will show you evidence for both, and then it will let the algorithm, not the truth, decides when went viral. What it won't do is sit with. And the hardest question of all: can a person be both? Can Mackenzie Shirilla be a traumatized teenager and still be guilty? Can she have loved Dominic Russo and still ended his life on purpose? And in America, we are very bad at holding two truths at once. Netflix knows that. They are betting your discomfort drives their views, and that holy shit is the most chilling thing that about the crash. And what should Americans feel after watching this documentary? Not satisfaction, not closure, discomfort, that kind of stress for days, because Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan are gone forever. The two young American men gone, and the only person who knows exactly what happened that morning, she says she cannot remember. That is the truth. That crash has to live with, and so do we. And here it come to the question: what American cases does Mackenzie Shirilla's story resemble? And Conrad Roy and Michael Carter, Massachusetts, 2014. Michael Carter texted a teenager into a suicide, found guilty. Age, love, violence, manipulation. American courts whistled for years. Sounds familiar, right? And what about cases where the monster turned out to be something more complicated? Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Missouri, spent her whole life being faked sick. Her mother abused her for years. She arranged a murder. America called her a monster, then called her a victim, then didn't know what to call her at all. And she is out of the prison now, and with a Netflix deal of her own. In America, the most complicated cases became the most watched content. Sounds familiar, right? The verdict, the conclusion. Here is the truth Americans deserve before May 15th. Mackenzie Shirilla was convicted by a judge who looked at the evidence and by a system designed to find the truth. Two families lost their children on the Sunday morning in Ohio, and nothing. No documentary, no appeal, no Netflix deal brings Dominic Russo or Davion Flanagan back. Is the real question this case forces on every American is not about Mackenzie. It is about us. It's about why we need her to be a monster, or why we need to her to be innocent. It's about why American justice and the American entertainment have become impossible to separate. Right? I need your comment in the comment box. Still, on May 15th, Netflix will tell you what happened, but the thing they can't tell you is how you are supposed to live with not knowing for sure. And final line, I want to ask every American watching something personal: have you ever loved someone so much and so badly, and that you couldn't tell where the love ended and the damage began? Tell me below, because that's what this case is really about. I'm waiting for your comments. Thanks for watching my channel. Please subscribe immediately.